In this video, I'm going to share with you the one stock in the stock market that you have to own because it is too big to fail. And mark my words, it will never fail. It will only go up from here. I'm going to share with you entries, areas to buy and load in to this stock, and why, which is the big reason why this stock will never fail. I'm Pat Mitchell. I have been a professional day trader for the past 11 years, so over a decade doing this professionally and wildly successfully. I'm here to give you free, high quality professional level education. I'm going to go in and I'm going to start talking about this company and sharing with you the stock pick idea that is the one stock in the stock market you need to own. So there are lots of companies in the stock market. There's roughly, 2,200, 2,500 publicly traded companies. There could be more. That number's off the top of my head. Don't quote me on that. A lot of them are absolute trash, but there are a few companies, and I'm going to tell you a quick story. So it wasn't that long ago that Meta was at literal lows in and around the $100, and I believe it dipped down almost to $80 per share, which is crazy. That sold off really, really hard. And then I started thinking about it, that this didn't make any sense because it is too big to fail. And I'll tell you why. Meta, as well as this company I'm going to share with you here in a moment, Meta is not a social media company. It is a company that the government can use in order to keep tabs on its citizens. We all know this. That's who Meta shares our data with. It's with government entities. That's all been proven. If you don't believe me, go do your own research, but it is not a social media outfit. Now, this video is not about Meta. It's about a different company, but it's along the same lines. It's too big to fail. It's too important to fail. So that kind of sets the tone for this stock. Now, the stock that I'm going to be talking about is in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, and it is absolutely necessary. It can only be this company. No other company on the planet can do what this specific company can do. Here we go, folks. Coca-Cola. So you may be wondering, well, why? Like, what's so special about Coca-Cola? Is it the dividend? Warren Buffett always talks about the beautiful dividend that Coca-Cola gives you. Well, that's what he tells people the reason why. He always tells people to buy dividend stocks. Now, that's a partial truth. That is not the truth. It is a partial truth. The dividend that you receive quarterly on Coca-Cola is 49 cents. It hovers anywhere between 47 all the way up to 51 cents. Okay, so 50 cents a share is what they give you for the dividend, which is a great dividend. Don't get me wrong. And that's the reason why investors in hedge funds and even your bank will tell you that you should own Coca-Cola. That's not the real reason. So let's scroll this weekly chart back a little bit. And we have to go back to tell this story properly. We need to go back to the 1980s. In the 1980s, do you see this massive volume spike? So some of you may be saying, well, yeah, Coca-Cola was huge in the 80s and 90s. They had marketing and sponsorships and professional athletes. For those of you that are old enough to remember the 80s and 90s, you would say that that's the reason why. Well, it isn't. Back in the 80s, it became public knowledge. And when I say public knowledge, it wasn't well known. But for people that did research on companies in order to invest in and everything else, they uncovered that the DEA announced that Coca-Cola was in bed with pharmaceutical companies. Coca-Cola imports coca leaves from Peru as well as other places, but I believe it's mainly from Peru. Why are they doing this? And you may be saying, well, Coca-Cola doesn't use cocaine in their soft drinks anymore. And you would be partially right. They still do. They, in their words, decocainize. So what it is and what they're claiming it to be is they are importing, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of coca leaves into the country, into the United States of America to produce cocaine. They then decocainize for the flavoring because their flavor is so important. You need the flavor of cocaine. Well, I'm pretty sure at this point we know that's bullshit. Why? Because it is not out of the realm of possibility to produce an artificial flavor that resembles or closely resembles the flavor of cocaine, whatever that taste is. So let's dig it a little deeper and start peeling back the layers of the onion. And I'm not saying that isn't important. It is important to Western medicine. It's actually even important to traditional plant medicine. So everything with the suffix cane, so Novocaine, all of that is a derivative of cocaine. So when you go to the dentist and you get Novocaine, or you have eye surgery and they give you those whatever Lantocaine, I believe it's called, that is all a derivative of cocaine. Cocaine is very important to medicine. It is a medicinal product, but it's been demonized as a drug, which it is. It's a drug that absolutely ruins people's lives when you're not in control of your own body and your brain. And that's a problem. So why are they allowing this to happen? Pharmaceutical companies need companies, other companies, to produce the for them. Now, they can do it themselves, but then they need to do a bunch of nonsense with the DAA to get a Schedule 1. Now, if you guys want, I know this is a side note, but this is important. If you ever want to learn about how difficult it is to apply for licensing, even in a medical facility, by legitimate doctors doing legitimate studies to gather data on a Schedule 1 drug, read the book DMT, The Spirit Molecule. You don't even have to read it. It's a big book. Get it on Audible, an audiobook. So it's about the process that Dr. Rick Strassman went through trying to do studies on dimethyltryptamine. And when he details the outline, it is a headache. Okay. So pharmaceutical companies, they just want to make their money, right? They are the biggest cartel on the planet. See, a lot of people seem to think that cartels are the problem, right? In Latin America and South America. No, those are the real cartels, ladies and gentlemen. Pharmaceutical companies are evil and death personified. That's what they are. Now, that's just my opinion. Do they do some good? Sure, maybe a little, but I think there's other ways. To get back on track, they need companies to produce this. So Coca-Cola, all Coca-Cola is at this point is a front for the cartel. When you break it down, that's what they are. And just like any major, important, key puzzle piece to a cartel, companies are out there that deal with cartels like this, they are protected. They are extremely important. They are way too big to fail. They will never fail. It's along the same lines as, let's say, the world's largest accounting firm is running the books for the cartel and money laundering and all that. Do you think for a second that they wouldn't be protected? They would absolutely be protected. Now, Coca-Cola is being protected by the largest cartel on the planet, the pharmaceutical companies. So with all of that said, and I know that's getting on my moral high ground here, but now that we know this, we know that Coca-Cola is too big to fail. So there's some interesting articles here, and I'm just going to pull them in really, really quickly that you can take a look. And this is where this information is listed on the New Zealand Herald. Like, we're talking some obscure nonsense, right? But you can go through and you can read that if you want. But Coca-Cola produces $3 billion worth of pure cocaine per year. Now, that's just the number that is released to the public. It's probably more, but let's take it at face value. That's a lot. Now, there is also another from the New York Post. Now, this is really interesting. New Jersey factory imports cocaine plant that flavors Coca-Cola. So they actually produce the actual cocaine. It's not just from the coca leaves. And that's how they make it out to seem. No, they are actually producing cocaine. It's a big deal. But why is it that they never talk about it? Nobody, I know some of you, I'm sure you've heard this story before, but why isn't it, legitimate public knowledge that every single person on the planet knows? Because they don't want to report on it. So now let's get into the chart here. But back here in the 1980s, they released public knowledge that Coca-Cola was importing coca leaves to produce cocaine. Now, the smart investors got in. They know that. They did their research and their homework, and they came out an absolute winner on this. So there's a problem now. And there's a problem because we don't buy stocks that are way up and extended. So what we have to do is look for a proper price point to get involved with it. So I like to come up with maximum ranges. Okay, so let's do this together. So we want to look at the last big sell-off that was due to a major catalyst, which is right in here, right in the $37, $36 range. We'll pull it to lows. So this is when that pesky little flu came out. that the world made a big deal about and then finally realized it was all nonsense. So right around that $36 range is your maximum low. And there's also other lows here. And then there's highs and test highs, test highs. This $36 zone is a really important level. Remember that. Now let's go to one more level. We need to go way up here at this maximum range, which is highs. So right in this $44 to $36 is kind of our base maximum range. In this area, if it ever gets to that price point, you need to buy it. You start buying it. Now, there's one more level that's really important to this, and this is its like legitimate maximum lows. It will never break this level, folks. It will never get back below 1850. If, and I'm saying if, now please have a healthy relationship with words, guys. The word if means if it happens. If it ever gets to 1850, and I'm not saying it will, if it does, that's where you fucking hammer it. Buy up as much as you can. As much as you can. Don't hold back. Get in. Fucking load the boat, guys. That is your protected range. Okay? So this level here may not happen. That is an if. But we should be able, at some point, get it down into this level. Now, the next level where I would safely start in is right in here. Right in the 55, 54, somewhere in the mid to high 50s. That's where I'm looking to start in. And that's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. Personally, I still have no problems buying Coca-Cola here. I would start in very small. So let's talk about sizing. So let's talk about a 100% position. So that means your maximum comfortable size in any investment. So in this area here, I would only be looking to take about 10% of that. So that first level is 10% of that position. Let's say you're going to take 100 shares. You're only going to take 10 shares. Understand? As it comes down lower here, this is where I would absolutely get in an additional 20%. Okay. Now, if it really starts to confirm and piss around here, I'm getting in more. All right. Then I'm saving. Once it nears this first level, I will put in absolutely 30 full percent of this. So now you're up to 60% full position. As I get here to this lower level, I'm going to put in my remaining 40%. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, what if it gets down here? Well, I'm not looking. Like I said, this is your go zone. This low level at 1850, if, and I'm not saying it will, but if it does, that's where you want to get in, and your 100% goes out the window and you're looking at more like 200, 300%, your original size. Let's say you were going to get in with 100 shares. That's what you're comfortable with. Get in with 300, ladies and gents. You've just been given an absolute lottery ticket. Fucking take it. So this right here, when we're dealing with stocks that are too big to fail, you need to understand that there's a lot of companies in the stock market that are not the companies they make themselves out to be. Coca-Cola is not a soft drink company. It is a drug producer. It is a cocaine producer. I know we all want to believe that Coca-Cola sells soft drinks, and it does, but that is a byproduct of its main intention. And if you argue with me on that point, you are most likely breathing out of your fucking mouth right now. You don't know what you're talking about. That's what Coca-Cola is. That's why it's so heavily invested. So when Warren Buffett, with his grandpa looks and his big old dumb smile, eating these cheeseburgers and his Coca-Cola a day, is telling you it's because of the dividend, that motherfucker's lying to you. It's got nothing to do with the dividend. The dividend is nice. Again, it is a byproduct, but that's not why he's heavily invested. He was privy to that information years ago, and he's like, oh shit, I'm getting in. Coca-Cola is the stock to buy, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words. Thanks for joining me here. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If this is your first time viewing my channel, make sure to like the video. You don't even have to subscribe, although I would really appreciate if you did subscribe. If this is your second time viewing my channel, you have to subscribe. And nothing in life is free, folks. There's always a give and take, and don't be a vulture. Don't just be a taker. Fair is fair. I think that's a very low barrier to entry for what you just got here, because you got given, once these reach these price points, you're going to be given your retirement fund. This is one of the safest stocks in the stock market, and I gave you price points, I gave you the reasons why, and I'm sure you're all smart, you understand the reasons why are valid. And if this is you are a returning subscriber, thank you. You are, my friends, a badass, but you still got to like the video. Okay guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope you all have a good one. Adios till the next time.